Join us for a trip down memory lane. It is now 40 years of adventure biking, and the bike that pioneered that segment and the bike we're celebrating in this episode is the BMW GS. In a previous episode, we shared with you the birth and the story how it came about, the BMW GS model range, and how BMW inadvertently and indirectly started the adventure sector or segment of motorcycling. And in this episode, we will be having a look at the last 40 years of the model GS and share some milestones and some models along the way and how the model evolved over the years. Just to recap, back in 1978, when the story started with Hans Muth, and it was meant to be a gentleman Scrambler GS, and finally launched in 1980 as a GS for off-road sport or off-road street, Geländesport, Geländestraße, with the model BMW R1250 GS. Interesting to note here that in the late 70s, between 1977 and 79, BMW was contemplating discontinuing Motorrad because BMW wasn't making any money and the motorcycle market was not performing. So the original GS was developed by pure passion enthusiasts, being the designer and the test team, and some of the testers were actually racing off-road competitively and passionate adventure riders. And the prototype GS was actually put together by existing motorcycle model parts, and when that was successful in the 6-day event, the management gave the green light, and from green light to presenting to the public, that original R1250 GS was developed in under 21 months, which is phenomenal in itself. And the R1250 GS was then produced between 1980 and 1987, and in that short lifespan was super successful, winning 4 Paris-Dakars in 5 years, being 1981, 83, 84 and 85. Then after 1987-88 came the R100 GS, and that bike was the fastest enduro bike on the market at that point in time. So that ran from 1987 to about 1996. From 1994 onwards came the R1100 GS, and soon thereafter the R1150. And interesting fact, in 2002 was the first GS Adventure, being the R1150 GS Adventure. Now that ran until 2004 onwards. From 2004 to about 2012 was the GS R1200, and that is the end of the era of totally air-cooled boxer motors. So that ended in 2012, being the R1200 GS air-cooled boxer motor, and from 2013 onwards the new area of the water-cooled still boxer motor till 2019, the R1200 GS water-cooled. Then from 2019 onwards, with the pressures of the opposition adventure bikes, the Tiger Triumph producing 138 horsepower, the Ducati Multistrada 1260 producing about 158 horsepower, the KTM 1290 a massive 160 horsepower, there was pressures by BMW to step up the game a little bit. But what's really nice to note here as well, BMW stayed true to the concept and the ethos of adventure and enduro bike, and they didn't enter the horsepower chase. They focused on horsepower as well as torque, and torque being more fun in the off-road side of things. So what they did, they took their 1200 motor, increased the bore by 1.5 millimeters, the stroke by 3 millimeters, and that resulted in an increase of 7% in horsepower, which is available right through the rev range. And the increase in torque is a massive 14%, and the nice thing with that, that is available from 1000 RPM lower than the predecessor. So from 2019 onwards, you have this beautiful GS 1250 and 1250 Adventure. And here we have the 40-year anniversary, which they're celebrating in 2020, the story. Now some fun facts. In 2000 onwards, they introduced the Funduro in the shape of the single-cylinder GS, the F650s. All these bikes are produced in Berlin, and in their very first year they sold a record 6,631 units, and by May 2009 the 500,000th GS rolled off the production line, and here we go 40 years later, still going strong. Now let's have a look at this 40th anniversary model in more detail. The color choice for this 40th anniversary model is actually an iconic color from the original R100 GS, which was nicknamed Bumblebee, which was also in the black and yellow. And as you can see, gloss black main color with some really nice yellow accents, giving the 1250 logo here, your hand guards, also a little bit of gold on your handlebars, your suspension parts, as well as your rims. So just eye candy to look at. And when it comes to features and benefits and specs on this particular top of the range GS, you need to set yourself some time aside when in the market for one of these to sit down with your BMW dealer and discuss all the different options. I mean, it's already packed full of standard equipment, and your TFT display is completely compatible with your smartphone, and you can do music, telephone, as well as navigation option on top, easily controllable over here by this ring. You've got hill climb assists, I mean heated grips, you get heated seats, shift assist. The options on this bike is unbelievable. You can carry on for days. Also the seat height is completely adjustable. I think there's between 4 and 8 different seats. I mean there's a riding pro, and there are so many options, too long to list. We'll make this video long and boring. So should you be in the market for one of these, really go have a look and look at that list and think carefully about speccing it, because you might not think you want that option, but to get the most out of your GS, just put it in. I hope you enjoyed this trip down the GS memory lane with us. Remember to leave us some comments, let us know what you think about this bike, and click like and subscribe and follow us for more adventures.